You know, you just said that a lot of these feasts and famines are kind of prescribed in religious teachings. And it just gave me a flashback to when I had Dr. Jordan Peterson here. And he is obviously a big scholar of the Bible and of those stories in the Bible. And at some point, he even asserts that those stories are somehow in our DNA and that they're not just, you know, a collection of things that are in this one religious text, that they actually reflect who we are as humans. And when you say that these feasts and famines are built into our religious studies, it's almost like there's that medical advice that's built into our religion. And I just wondered what your take was on that and kind of even some of Jordan's views on religious texts. Because it seems like there's a lot of knowledge there we, again, throw out the window.
Well, it's clear that most religions start from altered states of consciousness, mystical experiences of one kind or another. That's one reason I've written this book about spiritual practices, because practices are about experience, and I think experience is where religions start from. If you look at Moses, he had a vision in the desert of the burning bush, a kind of altered state of consciousness. Things looked very different from normal for him. There are some scholars speculate that he was actually taking he may have been taking a kind of ayahuasca type mixture.
Or DMT or something.
Well, the acacia tree in the Middle East contains DMT, and Syrian rue, Pergamon harmala, from which harmaline comes, contains the other component of ayahuasca, and Syrian rue is still used as a herb.
Okay.
And after the revelation of the tablets of the law, Moses gave instructions for the building of the Ark of the Covenant out of the very kind of acacia which contains DMT. So, you know, I think there are some people who get carried away, but this theory is put forward by a professor of psychology at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Benny Shannon, who's a Jewish, he lives in Israel. He's taken a lot of ayahuasca. He's done a psychological study of it. Anyway, he takes this seriously.
Okay. Have they recreated that potential brew, though, that Moses could have taken, or is this still...
I don't know if he's done that or not. I mean,
right.
it would be an obvious thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So whether or not it was based on taking ayahuasca-like substance, he had this altered state of consciousness of the burning bush. Then before Moses had the revelation of the Ten Commandments, he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. So he was in an advanced state of fasting, which gives an altered state of consciousness.
Right.
The prophet Elijah fasted for 40 days and fasted for 40 nights, and again had a kind of visionary qualities. Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness after his baptism.
Do you think it was the fasting, or do you think there were also some psychedelic components in some of these things? Because you look at, you know, the prophet and how he envisioned Islam and came out of the desert. A lot of these religions look like some type of psychedelic revelation.
Well, they may or may not have. I think it's unlikely that the prophet, there's no evidence that they were actually taking psychedelics at that period. I mean, the one mind-altering substance that was well known in the Middle East and elsewhere was cannabis. But I wouldn't suggest the prophet was taking cannabis. But the thing is that fasting itself leads to altered states of consciousness, and we know that that's a traditional practice not just in organized religions, but in many shamanic cultures. They have periods of fasting, you know, before undergoing rituals or ceremonies.
Sure.
Rites of passage and initiations, the American Vision Quest, the Native American Vision Quest for young men, involved fasting and being alone in the wilderness. So it's, Jordan Peterson, I think, is right in saying that these practices like that, which we find all over the world in different religious contexts, are deeply embedded in human nature. And originally, they probably happened through periods of famine, that people would have, whether they liked it or not, had periods of fasting. But they would have noticed the effects and then built it into these practices. So I think these are very deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. As I said earlier, the health benefits of fasting apply to all sorts of animals, even to microbes. So it's just part of animal and biological nature to have these periods of deprivation.